November 26, 2024, San Francisco, California. An OpenAI employee was found dead in his apartment. He had a gunshot wound to the head. His name was Suchir. The San Francisco medical examiner ruled his death a suicide. His parents did not accept that conclusion. His mother, Purnima, told reporters publicly that she believed her son had been murdered. She said he had shown no warning signs, no distress, nothing that prepared her for that phone call. His father, Balaji, said the same. They hired a private investigator. They requested an independent autopsy. They held press conferences and gave interviews and refused to let the story disappear. The San Francisco Police Department conducted its investigation and stood by the official ruling. There has been no update to that ruling. What his parents could not dispute, what no one disputes, is who Suchir was, what he had built, what he had said publicly, and the timing of when he said it. Because Suchir wasn't just a young man found dead in San Francisco, he was one of the people who built ChatGPT. And 8 weeks before his death, he had told the world exactly why he thought that might have been a mistake. Suchir joined OpenAI in 2020, fresh out of UC Berkeley, at 22 years old. He didn't work on the interface. He didn't work on the marketing. He worked on the foundational research, the actual architecture that determines what these AI systems learn and how they learn it. He was part of the team that developed GPT-4. GPT-4 is the model that powers ChatGPT. ChatGPT became the fastest-growing consumer application in the history of the internet. It reached 100 million users in 2 months. It generated more than $2 billion in revenue in its first full year. It is used today in hospitals, law firms, schools, and government agencies around the world. Suchir helped build that. He spent nearly 4 years inside OpenAI, and over that time, something changed in how he understood the work he was doing. He began to look closely at the process by which these models were trained, where the data came from, how it was collected, what it contained, and whether the people who created that data had ever agreed to it being used this way. The answer, he concluded, was no, and he decided, after much deliberation, to say so publicly. He left OpenAI in 2024, and then he started talking. In October 2024, Suchir published a detailed essay on his personal website. Then he sat down with a reporter from the New York Times and gave a full interview. He put his name on it. He did not speak anonymously. His argument was technical and specific. Large language models, the kind he had helped build, are trained on enormous quantities of text gathered from across the internet. We are talking about hundreds of billions of words, books, articles, news stories, creative writing, academic papers, source code, legal documents, the written output of human civilization, collected at scale and fed into a training pipeline. The people who created the vast majority of that content did not give permission for it to be used this way. They were not asked. They were not paid. In most cases, they didn't even know it was happening. The AI industry has a legal argument for why this is acceptable. It is called fair use. The argument holds that training a model on copyrighted text is transformative, that the model learns from the content rather than reproducing it, and that the output is something genuinely new. Suchir looked at this argument from the inside, with direct knowledge of how the training process actually worked, and concluded in his published essay that it did not hold. He wrote that these systems do substitute for the original content in economically meaningful ways, that the scale of the data collection goes far beyond anything the fair use doctrine was designed to cover, and that if copyright law were applied as written, it would pose, in his words, an existential threat to the AI business models currently in use across the industry. He was not talking about OpenAI alone. He was describing the entire industry. But he had worked at OpenAI. He had been inside the process, and that is what made what he said so significant. The interview was published in October 2024. It was widely read. It was cited by legal analysts, by journalists covering the copyright litigation, and by members of Congress who had been asking questions about AI regulation. 8 weeks later, Suchir was dead. We state that as a fact, in sequence, without assertion of connection. Because it is a fact, and the sequence is real, and you are entitled to hold both of those things in your mind at once. What this video has done is lay out the verified record. These are facts. They are documented. They are sourced. And they exist whether or not Suchir had ever spoken publicly about any of them. The technology Suchir helped build is not sitting in a laboratory. It is running inside the systems that make decisions about your healthcare, your employment, your legal rights, and your access to government services. That is not an exaggeration. It is the current state of deployment. The people who have raised the most specific and detailed concerns about how that technology was built are, in several documented cases, operating under legal and financial constraints that limit what they can say and to whom they can say it. That is also documented. Suchir operated under no such constraint. He had left the company. He had made his calculations. He had chosen to speak. His parents are still asking questions. The lawsuits are still moving through the courts. The researchers who signed that letter are still watching to see if anything changes. And the official case, the one that says what happened to Suchir in that San Francisco apartment on November 26, 2024, is closed. Whether all the questions are answered is something you can decide for yourself.